You can find it on YouTube, but every time I see it, this is the third or fourth time, I'm thinking about all that we're going to be trying to do with APAS, which is reviewing our academic priorities and administrative services, and to do it well and in a healthy way. So it's all linked, and they have lots of thoughts for us and are available, giving them a shout out, for working with departments, programs, all across campus, student groups. So give a wave, know that they're there, Curry Health Center Wellness, and that what we all do matters in this. So you'll see that at your tables there are postcards. You'll know that that's something Hal and I have been doing since the first coffee break, is to make sure you have this very low-tech opportunity to communicate with prospective students, current students, colleagues, just whomever, a counselor you know, a neighbor, anyone, and send them a message. A legislator, we've sent quite a few to appropriations subcommittee members who, not just subcommittee, the whole appropriations committee, who startled us 3 weeks ago on a vote of 22-0 when they voted for almost no other amendment on that long, hard day. They voted to restore about $11 million to higher ed's budget that had been cut earlier in the session. I mean, really, a round of applause. And so we wanted to members of both parties to send a note. So we did cards to all of them as well as to the governor. So if you mail these cards from campus, then you don't have to put any postage on them. If you mail them from your own house, you do. I don't know how much a postcard stamp is. Hal probably still has a stack of them. So anyway, be sure to pass them along. Write a note. And it'll matter. Someone told me in the last coffee break they had a friend send one to their own daughter who's a current student, and their daughter was thrilled. Just welcoming them back for second semester, etc. Let's see if I can advance. Do I have to make sure this is fired up? Thank you, Rebecca. One glitch in our testing process here. Well, that was easy. And a little embarrassing. Okay, recruiting and retention. We'll get to a lot of substantive matters today, and here's how it'll go for the course of the hour. I'll take about 20-25 minutes to visit on things that I have, basically the slides to remind me to touch on them. And then we'll have time for about 10 minutes at your tables to generate a question to pass along to me or any members of the campus community, and then have picked that question in the last 15 to 20 minutes for that conversation. And if we don't, which I doubt we will, get to all of your tables, then we will pick those up, have your questions written out, and we're going to try to communicate constantly with you, with your help, to make sure that everything that we're doing this spring, summer, and fall has opportunities, whether you all come to a forum or not, to ask those questions. We are also going to fire up, even probably tomorrow, Jed and Brianna, a special issue of Campus Forum that you all get, which will give the names of everybody who's been appointed to APAS and those who serve in the background advising on project management. I'll get back to in a moment. So recruiting and retention is huge for us. I'm not going to go there for very long right now, but I do want to ask everyone here, everyone who thinks that recruiting and retention is at least a little part of what you do, of your responsibility, your job, even a little part, would you please raise your hand? Great. That is what I thought. And that's why the more and the better that we do this as an entire campus community, just as if I'm sure in wellness, if we all consider health and wellness of all of us, students and others, is all of our business. So I just wanted to make the points And in support, it's not just Vice President Tom Crady's job to recruit our next class. It's all of our jobs to make sure that we are retaining the students who need to capitalize on their learning and their investment, to register and come back this summer and fall. That's up to all of us. Faculty advisors, are your students returning? I know that's a question that you're already working on, and that you'll be continuing to this spring, and we thank you for doing that with the skill and dedication. A lot of you have lots of advisees, and it's not easy. We're grateful. We understand what a difference it makes. Are we highlighting excellence at every opportunity? I don't know, but I sure hope so. I sure am trying, and I think most of you are too, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. And then finally, how do we welcome visitors? I have been newly attuned to that. The other day, to give you an example, I was stepping out of my, frankly, pretty cool parking place in the parking garage, and I had noticed a car weaving its way in there, sort of uncertain where to go, and they parked right next to mine in a reserved spot. And I thought, ooh, I bet they're visitors to campus. So I waited, and they got out, a bunch of students piled out, and I think a counselor. And I said, are you visiting campus today? And they said, yes. And they were glad to be welcomed. And I said, oh, we're so glad. I said, but, it would probably be best if you didn't stay parked right here, if that's okay, because this is reserved, but right over there and I see some open slots. If you move your vehicle over there, you'll be closer to where you need to go for your event, and you won't get a ticket. And you won't have, somebody who was going to pull in about 5 minutes. Mike Reed, I think it was your slide. Won't have them kind of worried about it. So they said, oh, thank you, good. And I thought, blah, blah, blah. I myself am newly attuned to watching every visitor to see how does it look like they're doing. And we'll elaborate on that in a moment. This Friday, for example, we've already had several all year long, but is UN Days, and again, it's our most popular campus visit program for prospective students. Pretty excited about that, except I looked at, there are a lot of things I don't have power over. I know this will surprise you. The weather Friday, it's supposed to rain, and it's such a wonderful campus to show off, but oh well. Friday, we will have visitors, and I wanted to just stop and talk here for just a second and tell you about a couple of students who came to see me recently. Their first names are Curtis and Noah. They came to see me about a week and a half ago to say that they are planning something like they said maybe some kind of a protest or an Occupy the Oval. And I said, oh really? And they said, yeah, actually they were so courteous and they really wanted me to understand. And I said, well, tell me more. I'm interested. I said, I'm a 60s kid. It's kind of what we did on a regular basis. And they're calling it a speak out. And I said, great, I myself have some things I want to speak out on. Is it going to be like Hyde Corner in London? Is there a box I can stand up? A PA system? Well, we worked together, and Rebecca made arrangements for them to work with the people here at UC and public safety to make sure all the things are. So I just want to alert you when tomorrow, when Occupy Oval sets up, we know about it. That is, as long as you go within our safety sideboards, that's a good thing. That's what universities can do. Now, their message, as I understand it, is primarily, and I'm right there with them, let's not have, if we possibly can, which is why Paula Schwartz over at the legislature and others, let's refill our coffers to the point that we can keep tuition increases as low as possible. That's one of their biggest issues. I get that. If other topics come up, well, we're a campus. So originally they've been thinking about the whole month, and they decided that doing it well for a couple of days is good. And I haven't told them yet. I don't know if Curtis and Noah are here, but I have a lot. I have granddaughters. I have way too many Girl Scout cookies. So I'm going to be out there spreading cookies that I'm frankly glad to share, shall we say. So I want a hospitable campus to our own students and folks and to visitors. And I know you do too. So I won't dwell on these, but look at them just quickly, because when we get to question and answers, Vice President Crady and others can help answer unit action plans in terms of each enrollment management area, in co-rec things in terms of remediation, making that much better for students so they're not lingering too long in remediation classes and losing heart because they're there. So many creative things underway here. Student success-related technology and Project Reconnect. We can define those further. I won't do it now, but I do know, you probably know this, I can't remember the exact figure for the state of Montana, but a few years ago when I was commissioner, I knew across the state we had 140,000 adults who had some college, no degree. We called them S, C, and D. Folks that we knew had some issue or some reason, many times great ones, no, don't get me wrong, but Project Reconnect is one of the parts of that, is to reconnect with people across the state and our community who can do this. Now, I have 2 slides where all you have to do is blur your eyes and look at the headline, because we'll put these online, but this is from Vice President Crady. 49 colleges and universities plan to accept the coalition applications this fall, which gives us, it's one of our new strategies, a real special entree to enroll students and students applying across the country. We get a special profile on it. In many states, most states, it's the most prestigious university that gets this. So it's Coalition for Access, Affordability, and Success. And it's cool. Take a look at it, but if you have more questions, ask Tom. The other one that I'm happy if you just blur your eyes and not read the fine print that just mentions a variety of technologies that have been established in the last few years to help us and help faculty with supporting student success. There are some of them. Now, I attended an ECOS meeting the other day and was hearing how this will be another news flash to you. Not every technology we implement, apparently, works just perfectly for everybody. Nicholas, did we hear that the other day? We did, from a couple people with very specific examples. So Matt Riley, our CIO, Chief Information Officer, is nodding here. They know that. And yet, to their credit, they keep working with the resources we can provide to make sure that we continue to reinvest in the technology of our day, of this second decade of the 20th century, to move us along and make it easier and easier for students and their advisors and faculty to help them. Now, Forward 125. I coined the term early this semester, taken a little bit of, let's just say, raised eyebrows / question marks. What is Forward 125? The short answer is that I personally am not interested in looking backward. I came as your president in mid-December, and I don't know, but I'll probably be your president until next November, December, so about a year. And in this year, which was our 125th year, as a university, as a legacy, heritage, flagship, hugely respected and beloved university, we will celebrate that anniversary next February 17th, 2018. And in this year, I want to do my part to help all of us make decisions and analysis that do these things. We collectively, using shared governance, develop a framework for a budget consistent with an enrollment that's realistic. This actually might be a little low, but better to plan for low than too high. Actually, I was really tickled this spring when our enrollment came in at 11.6. not 11,000. So that was, let's budget conservatively, and then I think that we'll be a little bit flat for a couple of years, and then the programs we're investing in will begin to pay off. Provide a platform for growth within a budget where growth is defined both in student headcount and in program strength, and in innovative initiatives, and in creative consolidation. So, and then finally, and this is just briefly, then through it all, I wanted to be sure this year as we go forward, we're celebrating. We're celebrating ourselves, our students, our faculty, all of us, our colleagues, and we're celebrating our legacy and not getting our heads turned, if you will, a little bit by those who want to look more backward than forward. Now, I have established a project management team, so I wasn't, not that I'm necessarily the project management type person anyway, but this group of people just to help advise what kind of support will our task force need. So that's all this group is or does. They will meet occasionally and say, how can we help? The next group I'll show you is the task force appointees, and we will put that in a special edition of Forum. Also, it's already, Rebecca, on the president's website or UM's website, maybe everywhere. But I guess I'll get to that in the next slide, but the budget planning relating to Forward 125, we do need to prepare for a budget for 2018, this coming year. We've already had to put out to the deans and all the big budget sectors approximately what their share is going forward. At this point, unaffected by strategic planning or the results of priorities and planning. But we have to start. We had to get a number out there. As you can see at the bottom bullet, some things are still unknown, such as state funding, the final amount, and even when the legislature adjourns, how much of that gets allocated to us by the Board of Regents. I've been very encouraged at what I see as the interest of the regents themselves in investing in the University of Montana. It's really positive. So that is a plus. And then we don't know tuition yet. Like everyone, we want to keep it as low as possible. We've benefited for 8 years of no tuition increases. Yes, some increases in fees, residence housing salaries, you see, that are pegged to inflation, but not in tuition. And that's not because we let quality drop, but because the legislature and the governors are willing to backfill that. So it may be time that changes. We just don't want the tuition increases to be ridiculously high. None of us do. For all kinds of great reasons. Short-term response for this coming year is that we will have to attend to attrition, utilize it, and salary savings, have new hires only with presidential or, an act of Congress, something like that, and development retirement incentives. I'll talk about that. Some of the research we're doing that, I think you've read about, but I'll talk about that in a sec. And then streamlining our services. And some of you must be thinking, you mean we haven't already been streamlining our services? And of course, so many of you have been, and we thank you for that. But even more so, I asked a group, based on the request of many of you, to look into voluntary retirement incentives to see if there were options there that might be helpful to the university. We don't know, but it was a good question from actually several of you. So I formed a little group that has been looking into it, and they sent out, as many of you know, an anonymous survey to individuals who their names are not supposed to be known to anyone, not their supervisors, not their colleagues. If they're known, it's only because they themselves, or what's supposed to be the case, told somebody. But it's just voluntary. Basically to give us some data. What is it that might move the needle or might be interesting or might be helpful? And we have a 90% response. To get that survey, by the way, someone told us later, well, they so rudely, they put a packet in our mailbox. Actually, I heard that from a legislator in Helena. And I said, oh no. There are a lot of things I don't know, but I know that didn't happen. Because they got it anonymously through their email. And that anyone else in their office complex knew it only because they told them. So, supervisors, let me remind you, you're not supposed to ask people if they got it, and if they got it, what they said. It's just voluntary. And it's to help us move forward, maybe. Academic Programs and Administration Services Task Force, because I can't pronounce the P at the end of it very well, I had a lisp when I was a little kid, still struggling with it, so it's just APATS, which for me is, there's A and passing grades, and what we want to do, Andrew and others, is build upon Matt. Those of you who've done good work with different kinds of prioritizations and reviews so far, to learn what we can learn from AAIP, to learn what we can learn and build on that. And that's part of the project managements group, to help us build on what we have, not just act as if that work was not done, go forward from there. And again, this slide will be there, but to come up with a set of recommendations for both academic and administrative services prioritization for review. And here are the members, because they'll start work here pretty soon. John DeBoer, and I think it looks like they're in alphabetical order. Chase, here on there, Chase Greenfield, and onto the list, there are a lot of faculty. There's a dean, there's an administrator or two, Beverly Edmond, down at the far right, well, our provost, couldn't be here today, but she will be chairing, or at least co-chairing. Sam, so staff are on here. So there's our group, and they came from nominations from all the groups. And I have a lot of confidence that this group will, and we'll help them. I'll give you one way that we can help them in a moment. I'll move on because you don't have to write them all down. It'll be a special edition of Forum, and it's already on our website. This is a timeline that, starting now, convening the task force, moving right on through to next November. I hope that we have some recommendations to make to the Board of Regents, and that we end up with implementation of various program changes, if not by January, at least they're recognized, and perhaps then by the following fall, summer. So we'll see as these details. But there's plenty of time and room for campus engagement after we have all those who are on 9 or 10 month contracts have returned to campus. Oops. One of the points I wanted to make, all of you know that a great group has been working on strategic planning. They've engaged both in the UC in all kinds of ways. And be sure to ask a question of Dean Tessman, and is Kelly here? She was here this morning. Kelly Webster or Gordy Pace, the co-chairs of that strategic planning group. They've had thousands of points of contact with most of you and many, many others to develop the first draft. And I think at this point, it's been for my eyes only. And I read it 2 or 3 times over the weekend. And I am so invigorated by their ideas. And really, they said they'll be the first to tell you your ideas that they have written and put together. So we'll go on from there, because the strategic planning thing, that group will have some kind of rollout like this, because we want your input into it before we present it to the regents later this spring. President search update coming along. The ads, if they haven't already appeared, were to start early April in all the national venues, and I think that they will be. I think that they'll attract a very robust pool. And I was either liaison to or part of the presidential searches earlier part of this decade for other universities. And I think it's a pretty impressive committee. I'm not on it, but helping if they call on me. Then I have 2 slides, and then I'm about done, on key challenges and opportunities. 5 on this one and 5 on the next. By inspiring students, I really mean inspiring as both an adjective and a verb. Our students are inspiring us all the time, and to recognize that and treasure it, which many of you do, but also to inspire them. And I know so many of you make it your daily, not just your life work, to do that. Investing strategically, we need that plan to help us do that. Connecting to communities, I've heard that hundreds of times as I travel around the state, even beyond, and especially in Missoula, thinking of new and creative ways to connect. Balancing our budget, it's got to do that. Evaluating programs. Oh, there's that picture of a woman that looks very suspiciously like my mother did. Anyone else ever get that feeling where you look at a picture of yourself, you look in the mirror and you think, oh my Lord, Mom's been gone for a long time, but there she is. It's a little startling. But I was thrilled to throw out the first pitch recently at a game, and some tell me they might just be sucking up, but some tell me it was nearly a strike. So anyway, innovating continuously and telling stories, and here I mean telling also as an adjective as well as a verb, and then communicating. But let me pause on telling stories with my very last slide. Last week, after a number of encounters all week long, mostly with people who were determined to tell me negative stories, some of you internal, some external, it dawned on me that, especially for those of us internally, really we are, I just believe this is in our DNA, we become the sum total of the stories we tell each other over and over. We are storytelling people. We are storytelling creatures. And the fact that, some days the story is over and over, and then it dawned on me, I myself, at the end of one particular day, had witnessed a really kind of negative example of customer service to our visitors. And I realized that I had retold that story 3 or 4 times before I decided, oh, that's really helpful, Sheila. What is helpful when people have the confidence to tell me and for me to go do something about it. That's important. Got broad shoulders and thick skin. We need to know. And then not to tell everybody 85 times, but to do something with the office or the person. And not in a shame blame way, but see what we can do to fix it. So by Saturday, someone came up to Hal and me after a meeting, and the woman had told Hal just beforehand, boy, I really got something I want to tell Sheila. And Hal knew I had quite a week of people wanting to tell me stuff. And I said, it's okay. And she came up to me, and I was all braced. And what she said was, I read recently some comment about your financial aid office, and I just want you to know, my son, within the last recent period, had been in the financial aid office, and what a great experience he had. It was not, usually, frankly, we're human. The bad stories and the negative are the ones we tend to tell more often, but it can become a habit. I believe we're the total of the stories we tell, and if they're only negative about each other and to each other, that's not great. We got to hear them, got to do something about it, do our best. But it's just my caution, and maybe none of the rest of you need it. I know I needed it.